Hi, we've teamed up with UK Auto Claims to see if you could be eligible to score thousands in compensation. If you've had any cars, vans or motorbikes on finance between 2007 and 2021, go to ukautoclaims.co.uk to start your free simple check. Loads of you will have overpaid and payouts could be worth thousands, so you've got to look into it. Hit up the link below and check now for free.
Hi, welcome to AFTV. I've got James with me. We've just beaten Newcastle 1-0 at the Emirates, the final home game. A game that wasn't massively entertaining, James. However, I think that the overall thing from the game is we won the game today.
Yeah, and you know, I did want them to. Look, this whole last few months has been such a strange feeling with regards to the league. We've had 2 years where these games have mattered. You know, in and around March, April and May. For me, it was when we lost at home to West Ham that I just went, like, that's the league. It's got kind of progressively worse in terms of results, in terms of falling further behind Liverpool. And then obviously the Champions League distracted us, which almost made these games even less important. Look, the Champions League run, you know, fair play, and beating Real Madrid was great and all that, but we found ourselves in a situation where we kind of even didn't want these hurdles of a Premier League game, to the point where that almost was seen in the players, and then they weren't able to hold on to leads against Brentford, against Everton, against Palace and others. You know, I think weirdly we haven't been good for months, but we could easily have another 6 points on the board. So it's been a really kind of strange few months. In this game, we should have been maybe 2-3-0 down. David Raya did well despite his error putting us in trouble. I thought he did really well to just claw the ball out the back of the net, claw it away from the back of the net as much as he could. And then Declan Rice scores another great goal. He strikes the ball really well, and there we go. We could do with a little bit more of that quality from the edge of the penalty area. So, you know, as much as it's been such a flat end to the season, like I feel tired after that game we won, you know? And I know people getting on to us on the watch along because, you know, it's still a game of football and you'd find the energy, and I appreciate that. But there's this kind of weird relationship with fans and players, you know. Are we meant to just sort of smile through everything and support everything? Or are the players somewhat meant to lift us? And they got a win, and for sure, I feel good about that. But it was a bit of a slog to watch. And none of the issues that we've had this season were going to be fixed in one game. So just pick up the 3 points, keep it moving, and that should be second place done now.
Well, that is it. I mean, listen, we might be saying, you know, it was quite of a dull watch for majority, but the players didn't seem to be in that phase. They won the game. They said, you know, they seemed up for it. They realised the challenge ahead. It was Newcastle was sitting in third, and we haven't beaten them all season. We haven't even scored a goal against them all season apart from today's performance. So something to look at and be positive about post game. But during the game, it was a bit of a watch.
Look, sorry, because I'm just a bit flat because I'm just tired, basically. But and the game wasn't particularly entertaining. But we just beat Newcastle, who are third in the league, who are very good in these games, who have beaten us 3 times this season. And we should enjoy that. And you should just enjoy the games in isolation as much as everything else. Yeah. Now, when I say you should, I mean you, whoever, can enjoy however they want. I personally just wanted the 3 points, keep it moving. I don't want to be involved in some nonsense next week, and we've avoided that. But that's what the game meant to me personally. Yeah. If others are delighted because they beat Newcastle and they see them as a big rival, and it was, then great. You know, brilliant. It's just not really where I was with this game. I wanted to just kind of keep it moving on to next week and get the win. And we've done that. And look, part of me thinks that maybe the reason the first half we can see a lot of chances, it was a bit frantic. Maybe we almost did want to play a more open game of football. Maybe the minute we started to bore it out a little bit was when we got control, because other than the last 3-4 minutes, which were a shambles from Arsenal, I actually didn't see any real threat from Newcastle, despite a first half in which it felt they were going to score with every attack. So, yeah, really weird game, but can't fault the efforts of the players. But I've never really questioned the efforts of the players. I could think of one game, I think it was Brentford, we lost 2-1 at home. I was furious after that, and then I never really questioned that. I questioned the quality and the tactics and whatever, but yeah.
They got Arteta on the screen at the moment. I'm breaking the fourth wall a little bit here, and he's obviously going to be doing a speech to the fans as he closes off the last home game of the season. But he did in this game, James. For you, did he try a few things? We saw Saka playing a lot centrally, and is it something that you saw and thought, okay, he's trying something different, I actually like this, or did it not seem to work? Because we mentioned on the watch along, on Actually Live, I thought Saka's not really a profile for a 9, or is it just the fact that he's just keeping it fluid?
I think it's just a really hard thing to pinpoint in one game. Right. Was it just that so for example, does he want more fluidity in the front three? In which case, Saka was popping up front, Martinelli was popping up front. Does he want Saka to play in more central spaces in general, and therefore that was part of it? Or did he recognise that with them playing a back five, he was going to be one-on-one with Livramento, then Burn was going to come across, and actually the best way to unlock Saka was to get him centrally, where they're not going to dominate the midfield because they've taken the midfielder out the midfield. You could look in lots of ways. One game's not enough to really know. They've got him on screen now, Bukayo Saka. One player can really hold his head up from this season, and fair play to him because his numbers are still extraordinary, having missed 3.5 months. But it's hard to know whether Arteta was trying something or whether it was just because there have been times over the last few years where I remember when we beat Xhaka's final game, and then the 22-23 campaign, we destroyed someone, I can't remember.
It wasn't Everton. Who was it?
It might have been Everton.
No, I think
last season we beat Everton 2-1, and that was the final day, so there was something on that. We beat Everton 5-1 the year before that. We won 5-1, and then I can't remember who we beat. Was it Wolves? We beat them 5-0. Anyway,
it was Wolves.
Right. So we've had a few of big final days at the Emirates. We've scored lots of goals, and in those I've looked at things and gone, Partey played right back in one of them, and Saka was again, I think, in one of those games playing more on the inside. I've been wondering, is he trying something here? Yeah. Is this a little bit of a new kit, new tactics, let's kind of show a little bit of what we're going to be about next season? But and then ultimately a lot of that stuff hasn't really happened, so I don't know. But yeah, we did see different things.
Let's keep dissecting the game before I go into some end of season questions. Havertz returning, in thoughts?
But firstly, fair play to him coming back after 3 months and surgery and all that. I mean, yeah, whatever it is Arsenal are doing on that front, it's really working for the players. So good on them because they're coming back, and Saka's come back and has been good to go. Kai Havertz came on not just for 5-minute runaround like Jorginho, came on to play 20, 25 minutes of that game. No, about 20 minutes. So yeah, well done to him for getting himself fit and coming back. And I may not rate Kai Havertz as much as other people, but I don't think he's a bad player. I think our squad is better when he's fit and available to play. We were able to bring him on, and he was a nuisance. Picked up a yellow card. He's always in the wars. I think the best version of Kai Havertz is when he is holding up the ball well, and he is making. I know Turkish likes to laugh at us for it, but runs off the ball but he is someone that I think if you're a crosser or a passer, Kai Havertz will make a run to get on the end of that kind of thing. Did we see it today? No. What I really want to see is conviction from him. But well done to him for getting back. And let's hope that we add competition to his position, basically.
Can I ask you about Declan Rice? Because he's been, I don't want to say clutch, because the fans in the comments, they're like, oh, come on, the Real Madrid game. Today, he got the all-important goal to get us the victory today. But he was always criticised, I think, of the past that he wasn't scoring enough goals, even though he does so much defensively. And everyone's, expects so much of him being the record signing at the time. Still is our current record signing. Do you think he's adding that to his game? Do you think he's suited more for that 8 role instead of, I've always wanted him in the 6, but I don't know, it seems like there might be a last kind of, stride to get more goals to the game, be more of a complete 8, or do you still think 6 is?
I don't know. He's such a talented footballer that I think he can play in so many different areas. My issue is Arsenal need creativity and guile in this team. But you can add it in lots of different ways. So PSG played with a flat midfield 3 of Ruiz, Neves, and Vitinha. Now, which one of those 3 is a 10? None of them. Right, so you could argue in Ødegaard, we've already got a little bit more of that profile in the team. But what they do is they get Nuno Mendes and Hakimi bombing up and down the channels on the inside and on the outside, and they have a fluid front 3. So in that 5, they've got guile and invention and creativity. Now, the midfield 3 can give you that. With Vitinha, Neves, Ruiz, they've still got that. But my point is, we don't need Declan Rice to become Kevin De Bruyne. We can maybe, if we want to play him in a slightly more advanced role, then we could look at that natural creativity and flair to come from other areas. But Arsenal just need to address that. That's why when people talk about Eze, the reason I love him is because you could play him on the left as a touchline winger, because I think he's got the skill to do it. He's better on the inside, but if you do that, then you could have Calafiori bombing or Lewis Skelly bombing down the left-hand side, offering an option there. Or you could play him actually as a 10. And when I ask for these players, it's not because it's like, right, Ødegaard out, put him in, or Rice to 6, Ødegaard across, and then it's more just we need that type of player. Whether it's a left winger, a false 9 striker, a 10, whatever it is, whether it's wing backs and full backs that can really bomb up and down the pitch like Declan Rice did at one point. Ben White did at one point. The point is we need that in our team.
Yeah.
And you can add that in a few ways. To answer the Declan Rice question, I just think he's an all-action midfielder who he's good enough to get involved in all areas of the game. And you know what, we've signed Zubimendi, they're offering Partey a new deal. I've got to be honest, I can't be bothered to talk about whether Rice is better as 6 or an 8 because that's not the direction we're going to go in.
Fair.
So there's no point.
Fair. He's all action midfielder is the best way to kind of end it there. Last question before we go. Last home game at the Emirates for Arsenal this season. Yeah. Your favourite at home this season?
Yeah, City 5-1 in the league, and obviously Real Madrid. You know, and little nuggets, little reminders that we're not a bad football team. And, you know, listen, I'm not trying to con anyone into thinking this was a good campaign, but I like the idea that a bad campaign for us is second in 2 semi-finals. I like that being a bad Arsenal season. You know, that is so far from what we used to be. A bad half decent season was all 5th, missed out on top 4 because we didn't even expect to be in the race. You know, that's how low it got a few years back. So, you know, it's been a tough watch, but we know that there's the makings of a good team because we've seen it over the years before, and that if we had some quality, that they can actually really do something. So hopefully Berta, Arteta, the Kroenkes, Tim Lewis, everyone involved does what they've got to do this summer, and this team can get the help that they need because a lot of them have kept injury free and just run through everything they can just to keep something of a sensible first 11 out there. I mean, Montgomery's played up front, right? Yeah. So anyway, appreciate the efforts of some, but let's just go to Southampton, get another win, and the summer can be focused on.